Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast from Agriland keeping you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined this week by Stella Meehan and Aisling O'Brien. And we return again to the ongoing controversy surrounding Bord Bia and its chairperson Larry Murren. The CEO of Dawn Farm Foods remains the target of IFA anger over his company's importing of Brazilian beef, which the IFA claims is incompatible with his role as chair of Bord Bia. That anger was on full display at an IFA organised meeting in Claremorris, County Mayo last night. The meeting, which saw between 500 and 600 farmers attend, was highly charged. To give you a taster of what went on at the meeting, here's a clip of IFA President Francie Gorman.
The person who appoints the chairman of Bord Bia, or who removes him, is the Minister for Agriculture. And he has steadfastly refused to engage in any meaningful form on this. But I do hope, after the board meeting yesterday and the concerns outlined, that we may hopefully get some movement on it. Because we want movement on it. I don't want to see some of our members locked inside in Bord Bia for a fortnight or 3 weeks.
For more on this now, we're going to bring in Stella, who attended the meeting on behalf of Agriland. So Stella, can you tell us what happened?
Yes, Charles, it was a big night for the IFA in the Connacht region, and hundreds of farmers were streaming into that room at the McWilliam Park Hotel in Claremorris last night. Even as the meeting started, people were still coming in and they didn't have enough chairs for everyone. Some people had to stand for the duration of the meeting. Francie Gorman started off the meeting by introducing, I suppose, what they have been doing over the last number of weeks, and the group who have occupied the Bord Bia headquarters in Dublin for the last 16 days. He introduced them and allowed them to speak directly to the crowd via computer. There was a rapturous reception for what are now being dubbed the Bord Bia 5, and also for Francie Gorman's, I suppose, mandate to go forward and continue fighting until they see some sort of resolution to this matter regarding the chair of Bord Bia. Also speaking at last night's meeting were Sean McNamara, the president of the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association. There were many politicians, local councillors, independents and from Sinn Féin. And there were a number of contributions from farmers across the audience of about 600. So many farmers took the microphone and they very eloquently and succinctly outlined their dissatisfaction with the way that this matter has been handled. But I think, Charles and Aisling, the most strong evidence of what they were discussing was when people were actually getting riled up to the point of real palpable anger. They feel that there is double standards in the way that they have been treated. And there was nobody in the room in any question that they want the chair of Bord Bia to either step aside or be removed. The farmers in the room feel that they cannot have trust in an entity like Bord Bia when the perception is that the chair of Bord Bia, who is there to chair a board which promotes Irish produce in global markets, is bringing in produce from a market that does not have the same standards as what farmers adhere to in Ireland. And they feel that it is a slap in the face to them, that they work to be quality assured, that they work so hard to pass inspections and pass audits. And they feel that having a chair from, Dawn Farm Meats that's importing Brazilian beef into the market is just not congruent with what they do for Bord Bia and what Bord Bia does for Irish produce. So as the meeting went on, Independent Ireland TD Michael Fitzmaurice also spoke, and many of the IFA county and regional representatives from around the country. And the final note that left the meeting was by Francie Gorman, who said that he was emboldened by the crowd and the support that he has received. not just at the meeting last night, but also across the country over the last 2 to 3 weeks, in terms of people going up to Dublin to stand outside Bord Bia. Obviously, they can't go into the members who are inside occupying the building, but to go up there and offer their solidarity and support on a daily, weekly and nightly basis. And also the mandate of those who attended that meeting in Claremorris last night, who were absolutely adamant that there is only one resolution to this particular controversy with Bord Bia now, and that is for Larry Murren to no longer be in the position of chair. So he said that the IFA is strong, getting stronger on this matter, and they will continue to move forward and take further action if necessary, if they aren't receiving the support from either Bord Bia or government that they require. And also they said that they had the first meaningful dialogue with Bord Bia at this week's Board of Bord Bia meeting, and they said that was the first meaningful dialogue that they've had in a while. Although no resolution came from it, they are hoping to take further steps to resolve this matter in the short term at least.
Thanks for that, Stella. Now, that meeting is only the latest update in a story that has kept moving and developing each week since it began over a month ago. So going to you now, Aisling, can you take us up to speed on the other developments in the story in the last week?
Yes, Charles. So as Stella said there, the IFA rolling protest at Bord Bia headquarters in Dublin, which began on January 26th, is continuing today, and the protest is being run on a roster system covering all counties. Now, it is important to note that Larry Murren has strongly rejected the claims made by IFA, and he's stated that he has never been conflicted in undertaking his role at Bord Bia, which he said is to lead the board and to ensure its effectiveness. And it's also important to note that Taoiseach Micheál Martin, Taoiseach Simon Harris and Minister for Agriculture Martin Hayden have all backed Larry Murren to remain in his position as chair of Bord Bia. But as you could hear from Stella's report there at last night's meeting, it is clear that this farmer protest is not going anywhere soon. Now, on Tuesday, the protesters were joined by Anna May McHugh, who of course is the Managing Director of the National Ploughing Association, and her daughter, who's the NPA Assistant Managing Director, Anna Marie McHugh. Now, the pair said they wanted to show their support for the farmers, and they even brought some sustenance along for those on the picket line, including some buns and cakes, we were told, to keep the spirits up. And they also had a conversation with the so-called Bord Bia 5 inside the building. That they made a phone call and spoke to them as well. Now, following that, I did catch up with Anna Marie McHugh, and she told me that she was calling on Minister Martin Hayden to intervene again in this. She said it had gone on too long and that this needs to be sorted out, and she called on Bord Bia to recognise the seriousness of the issue and the concerns of farmers. And she said the farmers, you know, this is a very busy time of the year. Farmers have cows calving, they're lambing, they're trying to get back out onto the land where they can, and she said they don't need to be up there day and night. She said this isn't a junket, and she said that the seriousness of this needs to be addressed. Now, Bord Bia this week issued a statement saying that constructive dialogue will continue as this controversy rumbles on, and those comments followed a scheduled meeting of the board of Bord Bia, which was held on Wednesday. Now, during the previous board meeting, as we know, which was held on January 22nd, IFA President Francie Gorman sought the resignation of Larry Murren as chair of Bord Bia. Now, along with Murren, there are 14 other members on the board, including the IFA and the Irish Creamery Milk Suppliers Association, the ICMSA. And following the meeting this week, a spokesperson for Bord Bia said the board met today, and they said resolution is still being sought and constructive dialogue will continue. So a brief statement there from Bord Bia. And we also asked Bord Bia this week if it was going to apply for a High Court injunction to have the IFA removed from its building in Dublin. But a spokesperson for Bord Bia said that Bord Bia values its relationship with farmers and their representative organisations, and in recognition of this, it has decided not to take legal action against the protesters occupying the Dublin office. But it did note that the ongoing sit-in continues to cause significant disruption, and they said that over 140 Dublin-based staff have been unable to access their workplace for almost 3 weeks. Transition year placements for 20 students had to be cancelled at short notice, and commercial visits, customer meetings and long-planned events have had to be paused. And they added that the disruption will continue while the office is occupied. Now, away from Dublin, around the country, 8 county councils have now passed motions in relation to Bord Bia Chair Larry Meehan, according to the IFA. And in recent weeks, members of local authorities have passed various motions that have been brought before them. Some of the motions have called for Larry Meehan to resign or to be removed as chair of Bord Bia, while others have sought for further dialogue between the IFA, Bord Bia and Larry Meehan. Now, the IFA said the county councils that have passed motions on the issue to date include Carlow, Wexford, Wicklow, Monaghan, Clare, Kerry, Waterford and Offaly. Now, going back to last Friday, Charles, a lot has happened in a week with this story, as has been the case in previous weeks here on the podcast. But last Friday, Minister Hayden called what he called a meeting of key agri stakeholders. We mentioned that last week on the podcast, but the outcome of that meeting was that there was no unanimous agreement to move forward in this dispute. And the Minister presented a document to the farm organisations which detailed that Bord Bia would commit to a number of actions. These included proposals to revisit the focus on farmer experience with audits, and there was a lot of other proposals put forward in that document. You can read about that in full on our website and app. But as I said, none of the representatives from the farming organisations who attended that meeting agreed to the proposals set out in the document. The ICMSA said it would take the proposals away to study them, and they would revert in due course. And the ICMSA President Dennis Drennan said he didn't think that the proposals went far enough, and he said the current situation requires full focus, and he said ICMSA is happy to give it that. Now, in their submission to the Minister, which we have seen here on Agriland, the ICMSA has called on Bord Bia to present detailed proposals on how it intends to restore farmer confidence, and they said that Bord Bia needs to bring forward proposals on how they intend to simplify the quality assurance schemes from a farmer perspective. And it also calls on the Department of Agriculture to have a look at the whole area of food labelling and the regulations around that, which they say are not strong enough. And after the meeting last Friday, the IFA said that there was a massive disconnect between the farmers and the corporate leadership in Bord Bia. And IFA President Francie Gorman said the Minister had refused to make any proposal to resolve the substantive issue around the loss of farmer confidence in the chair of Bord Bia during that meeting. Now, this week, Minister Hayden told Agriland that he's concerned about the impact that the continuing IFA protest is having on Ireland's reputation, and he warned that the protests may be doing more harm than good for Irish farmers. Have a listen.
I am concerned about the impact that these ongoing protests are having on inward buyer groups, on the impact of our reputation internationally. There's a way we can discuss these issues and resolve them, and I do think we do need to look at how we can get beyond protests. I respect everyone's right to do so, but we are impacting people's ability to do their work in Bord Bia, and that work is really, really important to our farmers. So my door remains open to try and come to a conclusion with those protests, that farmers can make their points heard in a way that allows everyone to do their job as well.
So that was Martin Hayden there, offering, I suppose, more dialogue and saying that his door is open there, Charles. But as we have been reporting on Agriland, the controversy has led to a broader discussion on food and food labelling. And in a recent parliamentary question, Aontú leader Peadar Tóibín asked Minister Hayden to provide assurances that all meat sold or provided in the canteens of Department of Agriculture headquarters is of Irish origin. Now, the Minister said his department actually has 6 headquarter locations, and 4 of those have canteen facilities, and all of those canteens are actually managed by external providers. But he told Deputy Tóibín that all beef and lamb supplied are of Irish origin, with most of the chicken and pork products also of Irish origin, all purchased from Irish wholesalers.
Now, we'll move on to the item that we probably would have started the podcast with this week had it not been for the Bord Bia issue, and that's the opening of applications for the most important farm payment scheme, the Basic Income Support for Sustainability, or BISS. So Aisling, what do farmers need to know?
Yeah, so I suppose the main thing is that you can apply for your BISS from right now, Charles, until the closing date of Friday, May 15th. So that is the very important date. The application process also covers a range of other schemes, including the Complementary Redistributive Income Support for Sustainability, CRIS, the eco schemes, other related schemes such as the Protein Aid, National Reserve, transferring of entitlements online. And you can also make annual payment claims for the Strong Corporation measure, for acres, for the organic farming scheme as well. So a range of schemes, and farmers are being urged to carefully read the terms and conditions of all of the schemes. You can see more details of that on our website and app. But I suppose one of note is for tillage farmers on changes around the Good Agricultural and Environmental Conditions 7 or GAIAC 7, which relates to crop rotation and diversification in arable lands. And the department has also advised farmers who are considering transfers of payment entitlements this year and future years to note that the current Common Agricultural Policy, of course, comes to an end at the end of 2027, and the draft regulations for the next CAP beyond 2027 don't currently contain a provision for the continuation of the system of payment entitlements from 2028. So the department has just made people aware of that if they are, I suppose, wanting to transfer entitlements and sell entitlements. So that is just something to note. And the department has also published key dates for farmers to be aware of this year in terms of BISS and other schemes. So if you want to see more about those deadlines and mark them off on the calendar on the wall or in your phone, you can check out Agriland for more details on those.
And there's also some important recent updates as well about the Agri-Climate Rural Environment Scheme. Can you tell us about those, Aisling?
Yeah, so there was a circular issued to Acres advisors this week from the department saying that changes will apply to both tranches of the Agri-Environmental Scheme in the terms and conditions. Now, among those changes were the department said that it would update the penalty schedule in relation to priority actions which farmers may have committed to undertake in order to secure a place in the scheme. Now, the department said because all of the farmers who applied for acres were actually accepted for both tranches, the prioritisation or the ranking and selection process for applications on the basis of the actions, the priority actions that farmers were committing to, that actually didn't come into play. So therefore, the department has now said it's considered inappropriate to apply penalties in relation to priority actions which had been submitted by farmers who, I suppose, were just trying to get into this agri-environmental scheme. So what this change means essentially, Charles, is that farmers who drop priority actions, which, as I said, they may have just undertaken to gain access to acres, they won't be penalised for dropping them. So the department has confirmed it will seek to recoup any monies paid out for the particular action over the previous scheme years. But the farmer will no longer stand to lose their entire acres payment for a year due to not completing a selected priority action. So it is an important difference. So I suppose if it's something that the farmer doesn't want to continue doing, they will, I suppose, have to give back the monies paid for that action over the last couple of years, but they will not lose their entire acres payment for a year. Now, there's a couple of important acres deadlines coming up as well, all of which fall at the end of this month on February 28th. So the annual declarations for low emission slurry spreading or less action and the conservation of rare breeds action in respect of 2024, you need to make those declarations by the end of the month. And also soil sampling results or the soil sample exemption form must be submitted as well to the department by the end of this month. So just some important dates to I suppose, note on the calendar as well.
Just before we move on to our next item, an interesting story appeared on Agriland this week on incidents of inappropriate slurry spreading. The Department of Agriculture said there were 69 such incidents recorded in 2025. So if you want to find out more about that, including which counties saw the most incidents of inappropriate slurry spreading, you can check out that article on our website and app. But moving on now, and we'll revisit the issue of bluetongue and the news that a number of additional cases have been confirmed in Ireland in recent days. Aisling, what's the latest?
Yes, Charles, as we know, an outbreak of bluetongue was confirmed in a cattle herd in Wexford on January 23rd, detected through the culled cow routine surveillance in a slaughterhouse by the department, and it marked the first occurrence of bluetongue infection in a homebred animal in Ireland. Now, further investigations by the department detected additional infected cattle linked to the first herd in which the infection was found, and in 4 additional herds located nearby. Now, we learned learned this week that a further infection was detected in another bovine which had been in a number of herds during the suspected infection period, and investigations are now ongoing into that case. And Minister Martin Hayden told the Dáil this week that the animal had been in a number of counties during the possible infection period, and he said while it was an unwelcome development, it wasn't unexpected, as the virus has been spreading across Europe, Britain, and was found in Northern Ireland in December. And he said the high risk period for bluetongue spread is when the temperatures are warmer between April and November. And he said that the current indications from the risk analysis that they are doing is that there are no immediate plans to establish restriction zones here, and that animal movement controls are currently deemed not to be necessary. And as we know, obviously Ireland has lost its disease-free status for bluetongue as a result of these cases, and that has ramifications for trade. And the Minister said his officials are continuing to work on renegotiating veterinary health certificates to facilitate ongoing trade as well. So as we know, this has been an issue bringing animals to the north, and the Minister said he is working on that as well. And look, a reminder as always, Charles, from a public health point of view, that bluetongue does not affect human health or food safety, we're told by the department, and meat and milk are safe to eat and drink.
And just while we're on the issue of animal health, Aisling, there was an important announcement this week in relation to the effort to tackle TB. So what happened this week?
Yes, Charles. So this is a pilot project which is going to see both departments of agriculture in Ireland and Northern Ireland collaborate in a pilot area located in Donegal and in Derry on measures which seek to provide proof of a regional approach to TB eradication. And it's part of the Shared Island Initiative, and it was launched on the farm of William Gregg near Newtown in County Donegal. Now, along with Ministers Martin Hayden and his northern counterpart, Minister Andrew Murr, the chief veterinary officers in both departments were also in attendance. And I suppose the ultimate aim of this project is a reduction in disease levels, reactor numbers and exchequer spending on TB as well. And it will include research, and it's hoped that this pilot project could be replicated in years to come then across the border region. And Minister Hayden said, as a single epidemiological area, it makes sense for us to tackle disease control and eradication together. And Minister Andrew Murr said that farmers are at the heart of this initiative and that their insights and experiences are invaluable in shaping future policies and strategies. So through the Shared Island Fund, the Government of Ireland is going to contribute €6.5 million towards the total projected costs of this project, which stand at 11.7 million, and the balance will be funded between both departments of agriculture. So it will be interesting to see, Charles, how that project pans out over the coming years ahead, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it.
Just before we leave the issue of animal health, Northern Ireland was this week declared free from highly pathogenic avian influenza, or bird flu, according to the World Organisation for Animal Health. That follows on from a similar announcement for the Republic of Ireland last month, so a bit of positive news there as well. Moving on, and concerns have been raised in the last week over a very steep decline in fertiliser imports into the EU last month when compared to January of 2025. This is being blamed on the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which is effectively a tax on imports of carbon-intensive products. So Aisling, can you take us through this?
Yeah, so as we know, CBAM, as it's known, Charles, it has prompted concern and criticism from farming organisations and sector stakeholders, including fertiliser suppliers, about the additional cost potentially that will be placed on fertilisers and the additional regulatory and compliance burden for economic operators as a result of CBAM, which came into force from the start of this year. And there is significant concern over the fact that the European Commission will only set the price of certificates in relation to CBAM retrospectively. So essentially the price of certificates for Q1 of the year will not be known until Q2 and so on. So it's creating some uncertainty, and obviously ahead of CBAM coming in, a lot of buying would have been done and perhaps stockpiling of stock. So this week, Copa Cogeca, which is the umbrella organisation representing farmers and agri-cooperatives, highlighted that in January the EU imported less than 200,000 tonnes tonnes of nitrogen fertiliser, and that's only about 17% of the 1.18 million tonnes imported in the same month last year. Now, Teagasc said that the figures confirmed a dramatic and unprecedented collapse in EU nitrogen fertiliser imports following the entry into force of the CBAM, and the organisation said that nitrogen fertilisers account for around 46% of total EU consumption, with more than 30% of this volume traditionally imported. Now, a reduction in imports of this magnitude, Teagasc said, could not be absorbed without consequences, and it pointed to anticipatory behaviours, as I said, that were seen in December ahead of CBAM coming into force, and I suppose that buying of product before the measure entered into force. And they said that CBAM poses a direct threat to the stability of agricultural production across the EU and destabilising markets as well. And the EU Farm Organisation also said that the price of EU produced fertiliser continues to rise, with prices up 25% last month compared to the average price for 2024.
Now, moving back closer to home, and Teagasc has said this week that it's in the process of making cost savings in several areas of its operations. Aisling, you set the ball rolling on this story for Agriland this week with your article on some retiring staff in Teagasc possibly not being replaced due to some budget constraints. So can you take us through what else Teagasc has said here?
Yeah, so essentially Teagasc confirmed to us that not all vacant posts in the authority will be filled this year due to what they said is an allocated pay ceiling. So this year Teagasc received state grant aid of €175.6 million. That's up from €172.3 million in 2025. Now, in addition to the grant aid, Teagasc generates income through fees for research, advisory and training services, along with revenue from farming activities. And the authority currently has 1,230 staff, along with between 300 and 350 funded contract staff. Now, the most recently published Teagasc annual report showed that pay costs at the organisation increased by 9% to €109 million in 2024. And when asked by Agriland if recruitment of staff is currently operating as normal, a spokesperson for the authority said that it continues to recruit to fill priority roles, and it said most vacant posts arising from retirements are being filled. However, due to our allocated pay ceiling, not all vacant posts will be filled, and they said that the work programme will be reorganised accordingly. Now, the Teagasc allocated pay ceiling for permanent staff increased from 2025 to this year, but the Teagasc spokesperson noted that there is a gap, which means that not all posts will be replaced. And they said that Teagasc prioritises recruitment decisions based on its business plans and its statement of strategy goals. And it said that its climate action programme called Signpost, it will continue in 2026, but it is being adapted to ensure the best use of available advisory resources. And that will include a reduction in the number of advisors dedicated solely to specialised climate and sustainability advisory roles, along with a greater integration of climate-related advice within the advisory programmes across all of the different farm enterprises. Now, Frank O'Mara, the director of Teagasc, spoke about this week when Teagasc was launching its Achievements 2025 report, and he said that Teagasc's farmer clients and students will by and large not notice efforts to cut costs and make savings in certain areas. He said it won't be a huge change, to be honest. He said the change is relatively small in the context of their overall budget. But he did say that Teagasc has to focus in on finding efficiencies wherever it can, and that includes some efficiencies in staffing. So he said every role that comes up when somebody retires, they look at that and see if there's another way that they could do that work or indeed continue doing that work at all. And he said that they will replace most of their staff who retire over the year, but there will probably be an overall headcount reduction in Teagasc. And he said that, Teagasc obviously has a presence at the ploughing, at Bord Bia Bloom and the Tullamore Show, and he said they still want to continue to go to all of those, but they might be looking at how they can save a few bob in terms of the cost of events as well. So Charles, it is, I suppose, reflective of the general cost of living increase everywhere, and it seems to have come to Teagasc's store now.
Now, the comments from Teagasc Director Professor Frank O'Mara, as you said, Aisling, came at the launch of a publication this week of a Teagasc document outlining technical achievements in the agriculture sector in 2025. That document said that efforts to reduce slaughter age of beef animals, which is seen as a way to lower emissions from livestock, have stalled in recent years. Well, it's understood that there is now a renewed effort to get the slaughter age down again, although this has prompted concern from farm organisations over carcass weights at slaughter and therefore the prices that farmers might get. And if you want to read more about that interesting development, you can check out our article on Agriland. But we'll move on now, and a new scheme has been set up to support the establishment of flour mills. Can you tell us more about this, Aisling?
So Ireland currently has only one industrial scale flour mill, Charles, and the initiative announced this week aims to strengthen the competitiveness, sustainability and resilience of the bakery value chain by supporting the establishment of new flour mills in the country. Now, Enterprise Ireland is going to oversee and administer the scheme, and it will engage directly with firms who are considering new or expanded milling operations of scale. So this initiative arose from recommendations in the Food Vision Tillage report, which included an exploration of opportunities for milling wheat in this country. Now, Minister Martin Hayden said collaboration from industry and support from the marketplace that could result in domestic production of milling wheat playing an important role in providing a new value-added opportunity in the supply chain for Irish tillage farmers. And Minister for Enterprise, Tourism and Employment, Peter Burke, said that the scheme would improve the competitiveness within Ireland's food and drink sector. Fianna Fáil TD Malcolm Byrne, he's been, I suppose, campaigning about this, and he's been highlighting this for quite some time. And he said the scheme is an investment in Irish food security because he said Ireland is over dependent on international flour imports. And between January 2015 and December 2024, Charles, Ireland actually imported over 2.2 million tonnes of flour at a cost of over €1 billion. So it'll be very interesting to see how this scheme pans out over the coming years as a way to reduce those imports and that reliance on imports in this country of flour.
Finally this week, Gardaí have appealed to farmers not to leave their keys inside their vehicles following new data on thefts. What have the Guards said exactly, Aisling?
Yes, so these statistics show that 37% of tractors that were stolen from farms had the key left inside the tractor. And Gardaí also said that 64% of vans taken from farms had the keys inside, while keys were left in 25% of stolen quads. Now, Gardaí had a post on social media this week appealing to farmers to stop leaving the keys inside their vehicles, and they said the statistics around farm vehicle theft are staggering, with a large volume of stolen vehicles being driven away with the owner's own keys. And Gardaí said that vans, tractors and quad bikes are the most commonly targeted vehicles in farm thefts, and they just appealed to farmers just to think twice about keeping their keys maybe perhaps more secure. I know farmers might say about tractor keys maybe being applicable across different models and all of the rest of it, but I suppose anything that makes it more difficult for somebody to steal property can only be a good thing as well, Charles. And it is a timely reminder as well, just to have a look maybe at security on the farm as well. It is a busy time and people have a lot of jobs going on at the moment, but just to take that time to review security in your yard, it's always a good thing.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. Just before we go, we just want to ask you to check out all the latest updates on milk prices on the Agriland website and app. There were announcements from several processors in the last week, and there was also continued good news on the Global Dairy Trade or GDT index in the last week as well, so make sure you check that out. But that's where we'll leave it for this week. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Stella, Aisling and myself, bye for now.